Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. They've been kind of a hot topic on YouTube recently, and for all the wrong reasons. They're a team that, since hiring Doc Rivers, has gone 3-7. They've lost 7 of their last 10. And their most recent loss was the most embarrassing. They lost to the Memphis Grizzlies 113-110. The Milwaukee Bucks are currently ranked 17th out of 30 teams in the NBA in defense. And I gotta be honest, man, I have so many questions about this team because, when they traded for Damian Lillard in the offseason, I think we all looked at it and were like, they're the next man up. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we all acknowledged that getting rid of Jrue Holiday would really hinder their defense, but I didn't think it would really be this bad. I didn't think they would go from being one of the best defensive teams in basketball to a team that can't even crack the top 15 in defense. So there's a lot of things I want to cover in this video because the fact of the matter is the Bucks are not good at switching on screens. They look lost in translation, if I'm being honest with you. Like, if you watch this team play basketball, the defense is just, it's horrendous. The communication is terrible. It's like an island of misfit toys. Like they're all playing on one team, right? Like, they're all stuck in the same place. It's just there's no vibe there. Damian Lillard has been a guy that's been a really weird fit for this team all year. They went from a team of having Jrue Holiday and playing through Giannis, and they went from a team that just plays through primarily one guy to a team that now tries to play through two guys and maintain that high level of defense. And it simply is not coming. They lost to the Memphis Grizzlies a couple days ago without, they didn't have John Morant, they didn't have Derrick Rose, they didn't have Marcus Smart, they didn't have Jaren Jackson Jr. This is a team that was severely undermanned, and they got their asses handed to them. I mean, Vince Williams Jr. had almost a triple-double, 18 points, 7 assists, 12 rebounds. I mean, this is not a team that the Milwaukee Bucks in any capacity should be losing to, especially when you have Giannis and Damian Lillard playing. I'm sorry, but Giannis and Damian Lillard went off. Giannis had 35. Damian Lillard had 24. Granted, it was on atrocious efficiency. Bobby Portis did his thing, but it's just the idea, they had 4 guys that showed up for them, and one of those 4 guys had a horrible night shooting-wise. Giannis played very well in this game, but when I look at Damian Lillard, I'm 7 of 21 from the field, 3 of 13 from 3. That's not good. With 4 turnovers, that was somehow still a plus 10 in the box plus minus, but if you watched this game, Damian Lillard's a guy that it's just they need to get a coach that's going to find a way to implement Damian Lillard and do it in a way that is efficient and works for what they're trying to do. That was part of the reason that Adrian Griffin got let go. A lot of that's one part of the whole Adrian Griffin firing that really gets swept under the rug, it seems, is part of the reason they let him go is because the team lost faith in him. He wasn't utilizing Damian Lillard right at all, and they were not good defensively. And honestly, it looks like the same old Bucks, even with Doc Rivers. Now, I understand taking over a team in the middle of the year is not easy. I understand it's not exactly commonplace in the NBA, really. But players getting traded to another team is also very hard, but it's also a lot more frequent than, head coaches leaving and rejoining in the middle of the season. This is just a team that if you watch them play, you're like, what in the actual fuck is going on here? I honestly think, people have been bringing up, are these guys contenders or pretenders? And when I watch the Bucks, I really think they're pretenders. I don't think this is a team that can win with the guys that they have at the head coaching slot. And they did Adrian Griffin. Adrian Griffin was okay, but when Giannis doesn't like you, when half the team doesn't like you, that's a problem. Now they have Doc Rivers, and sure, they have a new guy at the helm, but the problem is they're not playing any better. They still look like the same old Bucks that are underperforming compared to what we expected them to do in the beginning of the year. Obviously, it's not often that teams trade for guys like Damian Lillard and then the very next year go on a run and win a championship. That almost never happens. It almost never happens, too, that you trade for guys at the trade deadline and it puts you in the spot to win a championship or be a contender. That almost never happens. Usually you need like a full season plus some training camp under your belt to really, thin out the bumps in the road, so to speak. If I'm correct, I don't quote me on this, but I do believe Damian Lillard was traded kind of late in the offseason last year. So, I get like maybe he didn't have a whole lot of time to get acclimated with the offense and learn everything and all this other stuff, but still, even with all that, you are still Damian Lillard, right? And we know that. We saw what he did during the All-Star game, right? He won All-Star game MVP, he won the three-point shootout. He's still Damian Lillard. It just, the combination of Damian Lillard and Giannis and, just the Bucks trying to work around all that has not panned out very well. And one guy that I wish would get a little bit more criticism, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I love Giannis as a player, but one guy who should be getting a lot more criticism than he is Giannis. And the reason I say that is because you can't tell me that Giannis isn't a part of all of these decisions. Last year, he made it seem like, if they don't get me any help, I'm going to leave. Then, with the head coaching hirings and stuff like that, I'm sure he's been involved in all of those processes, especially with Adrian Griffin and Doc Rivers. And it seems like he just constantly goes unscathed. It seems like he's a guy that is slowly becoming a drama queen, which really sucks because I really like Giannis, and there's a lot of guys that I just stop liking because it seems like they just bitch all the time, and Giannis is becoming one of those guys. This is a team that I felt like should have never gotten rid of Mike Budenholzer. I understand maybe the team wanted to go in a different direction, but the thing is, you had Mike Budenholzer, and he had a family member die like a week before the playoffs started last year, and Giannis didn't play for most of the first, I think it was the first round. I think they played the Miami Heat in the first round, and Giannis didn't play a majority of those games, or was injured and played injured and stuff like that. So, do I think the Mike Budenholzer firing was justified? No. And the thing is, I'm at a point now where I feel like the Bucks maybe wish they still had Mike Budenholzer. Honestly, if I were the Bucks, that would have been the guy I would have brought back. I wouldn't have taken a shot on Doc Rivers because the fact of the matter is Doc Rivers is a guy that, as I've said time and time again, I think it's a pretty popular sentiment around YouTube now, is a guy who can get you to the big dance, but he can't exactly win you the dance. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get into the whole giving criticism of Doc Rivers and stuff like that, because I do kind of agree with the sentiment that he does tend to blame the players a lot more than he blames himself, and taking self-accountability and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, I just feel like this is a team that's slowly on the decline. They re-signed Chris Middleton. They re-signed Brook Lopez. They're not exactly young guys. Chris Middleton's a guy that, if I'm correct, I could be wrong, but I think Chris Middleton's working on 35 years old. Chris Middleton is a guy that I think is, I don't know, he's on the decline. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think he's a guy that his, best days are, I feel like his best days are behind him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much more you're really gonna get out of Chris Middleton, but never mind. Chris Middleton's 32. He's going on 33. But still, Chris Middleton's a guy that has a sizable contract. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's now the third string on this team as far as star power goes. Granted, you could argue he's always been that. But it's just the idea, Chris Middleton's playing pretty well this season, 48% from the field, 37% from three, 83% from the free throw line. But this is a guy that I'm just they're paying him a lot of money. He's out right now with an ankle injury, so, take it for what you will. He's been out for almost the entire month, which I will acknowledge it maybe affects their record a little bit. But this is a team, even with Chris Middleton out, when you have Giannis and Damian Lillard on the floor, and you're losing to a Memphis Grizzlies team with no Ja Morant, no Jaren Jackson Jr., no Derrick Rose, no Marcus Smart. Like, this is a team that under no circumstance, when you have Giannis and Damian Lillard on the floor and Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, there is zero reason why you should be losing games to the Memphis Grizzlies. Especially with, how undermanned they are at the moment. I understand, like, this is a team that, at full health, okay, yeah, I could understand them losing to the Grizzlies if they were at full health. But they're not. They're a far cry from full health. And I honestly think things in Milwaukee are going to get a lot worse before they start getting better. This team has maybe 25 games, I believe, to figure it out. I don't know how many games are left in the NBA season. What are the Bucks' record right now? They are currently 35-21. So let's see. It's 56 games. So let's do 82 games minus 56. So we have 26 games left in the regular season. I do not believe the Bucks are going to turn it around in that time. The Boston Celtics look like a way better team. The Celtics look like they're firmly in the number 1 seed in the East. And Milwaukee's a team that I feel like could maybe drop down to the 5th seed or maybe even the 6th seed, depending on how the Pacers play. But right now in the East, I would argue that 2 through 6 is up for grabs. Miami's not playing as well as we have expected in the past and stuff like that. It's just the Milwaukee Bucks are a walking nightmare, and I just think trying to get it together in 26 games is a very big ask. So, I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. This is a team I'm going to be watching a whole lot more as the season winds down because they've definitely underperformed compared to what we thought they would become. And honestly, swapping, I'm never a fan of swapping head coaches around the trade deadline because I feel like there's a very, very little window for you to actually make changes that you maybe want to make. You're talking to players, trying to figure out, what the last guy did, what the last guy did that worked, what did the last guy do that didn't work. You're still trying to iron out what you got. I feel like a coaching change was maybe not what this team needed midway through the season. I understand Giannis wants to win. I understand the Bucks front office wants to win. But I just feel like the firing of Mike Budenholzer has come back to really bite this team in the ass, and I don't think they're going to recover from it. Maybe next year things will be better, but do I believe that the Milwaukee Bucks are a championship contender anymore? Not really. I mean, you never know. Like, the playoffs could show us something different. But the Milwaukee Bucks look like a shell of their former selves since they did the Damian Lillard trade and since they got rid of Mike Budenholzer. And, it sucks because I actually like watching Giannis play. I think Giannis is arguably the greatest power forward to ever play the game at his position and just do what he does. I think by the time Giannis's career is over, we're going to be putting him down as the greatest power forward of all time, or at least he'll be in the conversation at the very least if he isn't already. But this is a team that I like to see play well, and they're simply not playing well. This is a team that looks like a shell of its former self, and I honestly feel like this is a team that gets knocked out in the second round, potentially even the first round, depending on what their matchup is. If this is a team that's got to see the Indiana Pacers or a team like the Knicks or maybe even Miami, if they've got to see any of those teams in the first round, there's a strong chance Milwaukee could be going home. The defense is not what it used to be, and because of that, this team suffers a lot on that end of the floor. You can't be dropping games to the Memphis Grizzlies once you start approaching the trade deadline, and especially after the trade deadline. So, anyway, tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on it. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.